more broadly, I want you to talk to us about Holocaust distortion and what that is and how that sort of factors into your travels in Lithuania.
Okay, that is it's an old new phenomenon, I would say. It was true in Soviet times, and it's true today, and it is posing a very serious threat to Holocaust commemoration, Holocaust research, and Holocaust education. And it's basically a situation in which countries, this has been basically the work of governments. We're not talking about individuals or individual historians. We're talking about governments which have changed, seriously, dramatically changed the narrative of their history during the World War II and Holocaust. Now, it basically has four goals. One goal is to minimize or hide the role played by their nationals in the crimes of the Holocaust. And you have to remember that only in Eastern Europe did collaboration with Nazis include participation in systematic mass murder. So, in other words, think France, think Holland, Belgium, Italy. All those peoples, they collaborated with the Nazis. In other words, everywhere that the Nazis occupied, and all the countries allied with Nazi Germany, the Nazis tried to enlist local helpers. And there were three reasons for that. One was because they were shorthanded. Okay, they basically controlled an area from the beaches of Normandy in the west all the way to the gates of Moscow and Leningrad, from Narvik and Trondheim in Norway all the way down to the Greek islands, with the exception of Britain, of course, and the neutrals. Neutrals are Turkey, Switzerland, Sweden, Spain, Portugal, and Ireland. So everywhere else the Holocaust took place. Everywhere else. So, and since the area that they were controlling was so huge, every person who enlisted helped them, control that area. Now, but that was one of the practical reasons. The ideological reason behind it was they wanted to show that the local population supported the measures that they're going to take against the quote unquote enemies of the right. Now, primarily Jews, but not only Jews. Communists, homosexuals, gypsies, Jehovah's Witnesses, mentally ill, physically handicapped, etc. So in other words, they had to be on board, so they wouldn't bother them. They wouldn't protest against it. They wouldn't, make trouble for what the Germans were trying to do. Now, the last point is this: the Holocaust initially began not with Auschwitz. Okay, it began with the Einsatzgruppe, with the invasion of the Soviet Union. That was the beginning of the systematic mass murder. Now, the units that they had sent to carry out that task were the four Einsatzgruppen A, B, C, and D, which numbered approximately 3,000 men. Now, we know today that there were some rotations and other people were brought in, but the number of people was several thousand. A year and a half, or I was between 41 and 43, they were able to murder 1.5 million Jews. They were operating on their front from Tallinn in the north, Tallinn, Estonia, all the way down to Odessa. How on earth could 3,000 people murder, and every single Jew had to be murdered individually? Men, women, and children. Except in the case of the children, they sometimes tried to smash their heads, or take a boulder and smash their heads, or take two Jewish babies and smash their heads together, and they kill them. They're not waste the bullet. This is the German approach. But the point is this: it's intense. It's very labor intensive. You have to arrest the Jews. You have to guard them. You have to convoy them. You have to shoot every single one, almost every single one individually. How can you do that? 3,000 men in Lithuania. They murdered about 200,000 Jews in Lithuania itself, and there were less than 1,000 Germans in Lithuania during the Holocaust. That's something you'll never hear from any Lithuanian. So what are these countries doing? They're saying the following: the Holocaust was a terrible tragedy. The Germans came and they murdered our Jews. Oh, wonderful. Is there a kernel of truth to that? There is a kernel of truth, because without the Germans, it never would have happened. But 1 second, who murdered all those Jews? In Lithuania, in Latvia, in Estonia, Ukraine, in Belarus, in Croatia. In Croatia, there were 40,000 Jews, 20,000 were murdered by the Distortion. Many of them in Jasenovac, and the camps. Then they sent another 10,000 Jews to Auschwitz. There's basically 3 models of collaboration with the Nazis. One is the Western Europe model, Belgium, Holland, Italy, France, etc., where the involvement was to ultimately, in other words, first of all, pass all sorts of discriminatory laws against the Jews, make their lives miserable, then round them up and send them somewhere else to be murdered by someone else. That's one. But they weren't doing the mass killings. France, Belgium, Holland, Greece, Norway, etc. Okay, then there's a middle Central European model, a country like Hungary, where they sent 16,000 Jews to communist, but those who were living in Hungary without Hungarian citizenship. The Hungarian troops, together with ISIS group, together with Ukrainian security police, murdered those 16,000 Jews in Novi Sad. They murdered several thousand Jews, Roma, and Serbs, the Hungarians. Okay. Later on, in the fall of 1944, when the Germans had occupied Hungary, there was the Salashin regime. In other words, the Arab was the Hungarian fascists were installed as the leadership of Hungary, and they went on missions to try and find any Jew they could find who was outside the ghetto, or even sometimes inside the ghetto, and they murdered them, and they threw their bodies into the Danube. So, but the biggest crime in Hungary, the crime of the biggest scope is, of course, not those murders, but the deportation of 437,000 Hungarian Jews to Auschwitz, where 80% were killed on arrival, but not by the Hungarians. That's the mixed model. And then there's the Lithuanian model, where and the Latvian model and the Ukrainian model, where they are key players in the mass murder. Now, so as I said, goal number 1, to hide their own involvement. Goal number 2, to promote the canard of equivalency between communist crimes and Nazi crimes, and to see to it that communist crimes are treated as genocide. And this is super important for them, because if communist crimes are treated as genocide, then they can say, well, the Jews were also involved in genocide because they were Jewish communists. Okay, they were. And those people didn't do it out of any loyalty to the Jewish people or to the Jewish religion or to anything like that, but they became ardent communists. But did they get jobs in the KGB or in the drug security apparatus? They were involved in crimes. That's true. So in other words, if everyone is guilty, then no one's guilty. 3 is the glorification of heroes of theirs. Now, who are the heroes of these people? They're the people who fought against the Soviets after World War II. So that's normal. That's logical. And believe me, I have no problem if someone was only involved in fighting against the Soviets. But some of these people had murdered Jews during the Holocaust. So how can you glorify, turn someone who's a mass murderer into a national hero? It's crazy. And the last point is they're pushing for a joint Memorial Day for all the victims of totalitarian regimes, communism and Nazism. They have a whole platform that is explained in the Prague Declaration of June 3rd, 2008, which calls for parity between the treatment of communist crimes and Nazi crimes, support for the new museums in which the Holocaust is terribly distorted. In other words, all the emphasis is on communist crimes and communist occupation, etc. And they chose, what day did they choose? August 23rd. August 23rd is Molotov-Ribbentrop non-aggression pact between Nazi Germany and Soviet Russia. And they basically want you to think that the Soviet Union bears equal blame for the 50 million people who died during World War II. But basically, they're comparing the country which came up with the idea, built and ran the biggest mass murder factory in human history, Auschwitz-Birkenau, with the country whose army liberated that camp. It stopped the mass murder. So, communism, Soviet Union has enormous flaws. I don't want to in any way diminish the victims of communism. They deserve our sympathy. And one of the problems with this is the fact that those victims of communism have never gotten the same consideration and compensation that the survivors of the Holocaust are getting. So, you know what I mean? It's like we deserve sympathy too. But the problem is you're not only victims, you're also perpetrators. And the crimes that you perpetrate is mass murder. Okay, so that's the problem.
That sounds like you see that a lot in Eastern Europe right now.
And now every single country has the problem.